Hey, this is Tony D with another screenwriting tip. Excuse me. And I want to talk to you, really more of a general writing tip, really, but um, I want to talk to you about breakthroughs and how, at least for me, how that kind of functions to help me, how I get to them, and then how that helps me sort of finish a project. I should say product. I should say project, not product. So I'm working on the sequel to Wokistan, a novel available at Amazon.com. Kindle Unlimited is free, ebook, trade paperback. And as I'm working on it, I had been sort of Christian and I started a few months ago, actually not long after Wokistan came out, and we pushed it, and we decided, oh, let's get. We actually wanted to get Wokistan done before the Oscars this year, but it just didn't come together. And I was struggling a bit with it, and we were both very busy, so it was kind of tough. And then I couldn't really get into it. And there's one thing about this current crisis. Now it's given me the time to really drill down into a project again. So we were really on the verge of almost abandoning the project because because it's a very grounded story in this current reality. Well, I should say in the pre-crisis reality, and it's about wokeness and Hollywood wokeness. We felt like a lot of that seemed to be going away, right? That there was this real push by people to, hey, let's just get back to basics here. We've got too much at stake. It's time to set aside this nonsense. And I was, for a few weeks, it seemed that way. It seemed like these woke people are going to all be out of work. And then it just seemed they somehow keep surviving, especially in the world of Star Wars, which I'm not going to go into. The Star Wars people are now doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on their wokeness, and that seems to be a virus which is, in my view, greatly infected all of Disney, and if not most of Hollywood in general. So they're not pulling back from it. No effing way. So started to get back into writing the sequel, and it is connected to the entertainment industry quite a bit. So I started writing. I started forcing myself to write, and initially I just got back into it and kind of just did a couple of paragraphs each night because I was doing other stuff too, and my focus was all over the place with this crisis. Between doing the videos and keeping up on the webcomic factory, I wanted to finish my draft of the 6th book of the Piney, which I basically finished. I still haven't added the 7 extra pages, which I know I'm going to pay for later, but hopefully when I come back to it in fresh eyes, it'll be easy. But I was like, let me get back into the sequel and see if I can force myself to get it going before I finally sort of give up the ghost and say, yeah, this isn't going to work. So each night I grinded through words, and eventually I got up to 1,000 words. Now I'm up to about 2,000 words a night, depending. And I was just doing a chapter at a time, just sort of grinding it out. And at first, I kind of got back to the level I was at initially, which wasn't very high. It wasn't like the first novel, and I was struggling with it, and I was saying, like, why isn't this like, the first novel kind of flowed out of me. But at that time, when Christian and I were writing when we were writing Wokistan, I was doing a ton of ghostwriting, and I was writing ghostwriting on entire novels in like a week, and then working on Wokistan on the side. So it was easy, actually. As soon as I got done, it was easy not only to do 1,000, 2,000 words a night for Wokistan. Once I was finished my ghostwriting and then got a few days, I would do like 5,000 words on Wokistan, no problem. 6,000, 7,000, 8,000. And it was just, the words were just pouring out of me for that book. And Christian too. Christian was taking the chapters and writing stuff. And we were both here. She was staying over, and that was part of the deal. We were determined to write a book together while we were in the house and able to work closely together. So it's a little bit of the determination that I think will eventually generate the breakthrough. So after night of grinding through it, after about a week and a half, I started having mini breakthroughs, right? I started realizing, oh, okay, this ties into this. This is what I did before in the previous novel. I can do something similar in the sequel, because in a sequel novel like this, you want to sort of repeat certain patterns, certain themes. And it has a very similar theme, except it's more focused on the entertainment industry. So I did that, and things started to crystallize. Things started to become more clear. And then we had done an outline, Christian and I started going over the outline. Now, at first, I was kind of beholden to the outline because I was out of my headspace for writing the novel. I had to get back into it, so I leaned on the outline to really get back in. But then after a few chapters, and the chapters initially only started at about 1,000 words each, I realized I needed more than these chapters, and I actually ended up creating whole other characters who kind of mirrored some of the characters in the first book without giving it away. In terms of their functionality, not in terms of their personality or anything. They're different personalities. But in terms of their functionality in the book, we needed sort of these different threads going separately so later they could come together. And again, and I talked about this in a process video a few days ago, I'm still not sure where those threads are going. And then I took my own advice and said, you know what? I don't need to know just yet. I'm gonna make that thread go and try and wrap it up later. Let that go off on its own thing, and not try to make the world a little too tight. Now, my worry for this particular novel was that there's a lot of characters. There was a lot of characters in the first novel. I think there are even more in this novel. And since it's about Hollywood and the entertainment industry, you have to understand, the people who are in that, and I've been in that at least on the fringes. There's just so many people. I can't remember the few people I've met. I have struggle to remember their names. I can't imagine somebody who's in the middle of that, constantly meeting people. So there has to be a flood of those names to some degree or another. And just like an improv scene, I finally, after grinding through these chapters, I started to see patterns again. I started to see patterns that I could heighten and exploit and start making work for and push the narrative forward. And now I'm in, I guess you would say, the second act, deep into the second act, probably halfway through the book. Not halfway. I'm at about 30,000 words, I think, 31, 32 after last night, somewhere in there. And there was some breakthroughs, right? These new characters were breakthroughs because I realized, no, we need more characters. We need more characters to drive this home. We need characters that were similar to the group of characters in Wokistan that drove the narrative forward and committed these crazy acts. So we can contrast the behavior of the more normal characters with that. And it's working out pretty good. I'm excited about it again. And, basically it was a project that, we were really close to dropping it and moving on to something else. But now I'm determined to do, if I can do 2,000 words a night, I can be almost done by the end of the month. I wanted to be done, but 2,000 words a night, I could definitely do that. So I could be almost done. If I get to 50,000 words, I think I could be almost at the end of this thing. So if I kick it up to 3,000 or 4,000 for a couple of nights at least, I could be done by the end of May. It's certainly by the first week of May. And And it's all because of those breakthroughs. And I envision more breakthroughs to come, especially at the end. Now, we had a bit of an ending in mind. Again, it sort of mirrors Wokistan in a lot of respects, but in a different way because it's a different sort of concept. But I think I think these breakthroughs, you have to work towards them, and then you have to work with them, if that makes any sense. And you will not see them until you see them. So it's a little like you're walking through the woods, and there's a lot of trees, and you're just walking and walking and walking, and you're convinced that you're lost, but you're relying on your compass. And in this case, the metaphor of the compass represents your skills, represents your writing, and you're walking, and you're relying on that to know, I just got to stay on this path. I got to stay in the same direction, and I'll get to where I'm going. And then finally, you start seeing a landmark that indicates, yes, you did go the right way. Yes, your compass is not wrong, and yes, your skills of walking are taking you there, or skills of writing are taking you there. And that's what you need. You need that confidence. You need to give yourself that latitude to say, I have the confidence, I'm going to get there. I just have to keep going forward until I reach something. And then at that point, you build upon that. And at that point, it's all coming together. So stay the course, screenwriters and writers. It's going to happen. Trust in your instincts, trust in your skills, and open yourself up to just grinding through it until that moment takes you there. Because you can always go back and tweak things and fix things. Because it's all about getting to that ending and then figuring out what that ending is that you didn't quite know. And then going back and saying, okay, now that I know the ending, now that I know how this whole thing is framed, I can go back and fix things and make myself sound really, really clever. So that's today's screenwriting tip. Today, thank you for watching. Please check out my books, Wokistan, a novel, at Amazon, and also The Pineys, books 1, 2, 3, and 4. Kindle Unlimited is free. Ebooks, trade paperbacks are available, and you can see how my process worked out in actual projects. And of course, the Webcomic Factory at thewebcomicfactory.com.